So next we're going to make is tofu gumbo, and what we need to do is marinate the tofu overnight. So we're going to take a pound of tofu and cube it, and I would recommend you keep the cubes fairly large because they are going to break up a little bit. And I'm just going to put those in the pan into a bowl. Now, over the tofu, I'm going to add some minced garlic. I'm going to add 1 onion that's been diced. We're going to add 1/4 cup of Dijon mustard. I'm adding 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne. You can add a little bit more if you like that heat and that Louisiana spice. And then 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And 1/4 cup of cider vinegar. And a tablespoon of brown sugar. And I'm going to just mix that all up. And you want to make sure that that coats your tofu. And what I like to do is just put this into a plastic bag, try to squeeze as much air out of it as possible, and then leave that in your refrigerator overnight. And remember, with tofu, it absorbs all the flavor. It just needs time to do that. So I would put this in the refrigerator and leave this for overnight. All right. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add a little bit of oil, vegetable oil, to our pan. I'm going to turn the heat on. And we're going to saute our chopped up celery, our green peppers, our red peppers, and our diced beets. And thank you. And you want to let that saute for about 5 minutes or so. So you can see after 5 minutes of cooking on this on a high heat and stirring it, your beets are actually adding a little bit of color to this. So now we're going to add our stock, turn down the heat, and let this simmer for about 15 minutes. So I want to just bring this liquid back up to a slow simmer. You see it start simmering around the edge. So we're going to let this just simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes right now. Okay. Ready? So once this starts simmering and you're going to let it simmer for 15 minutes, you want to add your 2 bay leaves to that so you can extract the flavor from those. Also at this point in time, I would go ahead and add my thyme, oregano, and basil. and just let that be a slow simmer for 15 minutes. All right, so I've just taken my tofu out of the refrigerator. It's been marinating overnight. We're going to add a little bit of oil to our saute pan. Now, I apologize to everyone who's down in Louisiana. I'm from Washington State. It's a little challenging right now to get okra. So if I was in Louisiana, I would be adding and frying up my okra at this point. So I'm just going to have to make this recipe without okra, but please add the okra. It adds a lot of great flavor. So in my saute pan right here, I'm going to take my tofu mixture that we've had in the fridge overnight, and I'm going to add this to my saute pan. With the onions, and I want all the marinade to be added to this. And what I want to do is I want to cook this until the tofu is slightly golden brown on the outside. And this has such a wonderful smell of the fried onions, the Dijon mustard, a little bit of brown sugar and vinegar to this. So as you can see, this is now browning nicely, and I'm going to add this to my sauce. And while my sauce is slowly simmering, I'm going to add just a little bit of flour to thicken it. Because you want to have this to be the consistency of gravy. And if you want your gumbo to be not quite this red, you just have to add a little less beets to it. And just let that come back to a slow simmer for just a couple of minutes. Let that flour thicken in. And there you have tofu gumbo.